There's a concern, or I suppose one side of the narrative suggesting that given that this is one of the kind of few issues that President Trump is still finding largely bilateral support with in Washington, that he's only going to be emboldened to push harder on the Chinese.
That's right. There's not a lot of evidence that there is any Democratic opposition to these tariffs. If anything, some Democrats are very much in favor of them. And traditionally, if we can remember the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it was the Republican Party that really shepherded that through under Obama. It was not the Democratic Party. So it's not like the Democrats are known for being big free traders. So it seems like Trump has some more room to go in terms of pushing these tariffs. I think it's important to note, as you said, this is a bipartisan issue. This is something. There are few things that are bipartisan in D.C. these days, and being tougher on China is one of them. The issue, I think, sort of the question and the controversy is how to prosecute a tougher stance on China. Because in many ways, TPP, or the Trans-Pacific Partnership, was that.
Jared, I see that you say the U.S. can't sustain these high tariffs because the country is a democratic country versus these other countries, China in particular, of course, being non-democratic, and that the U.S. prospects for success are not good. Explain this further, please.
Exactly. So the U.S. is a target-rich country. It's an open democracy. You can see who produces what where. So when another country wants to punish certain sectors of the U.S. economy, let's say Mississippi and Wisconsin, or really tough areas that are Trump's heartland or what Trump is relying on, they can do that easily. It's harder to do that in China. One, because they're not as opaque, and two, they're not as developed. They're not as clearly producing everything like you are in the States. You can see who's doing what where. But two, they have a less developed system where you can vote. You can't vote people out. So they're not democratic. There's no sort of circuit breaker for punishing a Chinese leader for doing something that goes against what are in the Chinese interests. There's a famous Chinese saying about eating bitterness, and I think in many ways the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, are happy to sort of feed people bitterness if necessary. You can't do that in the United States. There are going to be votes, as we see in the midterm election, in the way that they've calibrated the sort of escalating trade war to compensate for that.